Echoes of the Dead, a horror story from the Colosseum began with a group of friends, all history buffs, who decided to take a trip to Rome to see the famous Colosseum. They arrived at the ancient structure in the early afternoon, eager to explore every inch of it. As they walked through the ruins, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the sheer size and grandeur of the Colosseum. They marveled at the intricate carvings and the way the light filtered through the broken arches, casting eerie shadows across the ground. But as the sun began to set, the mood shifted. The friends started to feel a sense of unease, as if they were being watched. They shrugged it off, thinking it was just their imagination. But as they made their way deeper into the Colosseum, the feeling only intensified. Suddenly, one of the friends heard a faint whispering in his ear. He turned to his companions, but they hadn't heard anything. He shrugged it off, thinking it was just the wind. But as they continued to explore, the whispering grew louder and more distinct. They soon realized that the whispering was coming from the Colosseum's underground chambers, where the gladiators and animals were kept before the games. The friends decided to investigate and descended the stairs into the dark, musty chambers. As they walked deeper into the chamber, the whispering grew louder, and they could make out the words "echoes of the dead" and "blood of the gladiators." They started to feel a sense of dread, as if they were walking into a trap. Suddenly, they heard the sound of metal clashing and the screams of men. They froze in terror, realizing that they were hearing the sounds of the gladiatorial games that had taken place in the Colosseum centuries ago. The friends turned to run, but the door they had entered through was now locked. They were trapped in the chamber with the echoes of the dead. They could see ghostly figures of gladiators and wild animals fighting to the death, and the smell of blood and death was everywhere. They were desperate to find a way out, but every door and passage they tried was blocked by the ghostly figures. They were trapped in the chamber with the echoes of the dead, reliving the horrors of the past. They could see the ghost of the gladiators who were put to death, the ghost of the animals who were used to entertain the crowd, and the ghost of the people who were in the Colosseum to watch the games. The ghostly figures were all around them, and they could feel the cold breath of the dead on their necks. They were trapped in the chamber for what felt like hours, as the ghostly figures continued to torment them. They were convinced that they would never escape, that they would be trapped in the Colosseum forever. Just as they had given up hope, they heard a faint sound of someone calling their names. It was the voice of their tour guide, who had come looking for them when they didn't return to the group. He had heard the commotion from the underground chamber and had come to investigate. The friends were overjoyed to see him and followed him out of the Colosseum, never looking back. They were shaken by their experience and knew they would never be the same. They had been confronted with the echoes of the dead and had been lucky to escape with their lives. From that day on, they were convinced that the Colosseum was cursed, and they never spoke about their experience again. They couldn't shake off the feeling of unease and fear that had enveloped them in the Colosseum. They didn't want to believe that what they had experienced was real, but deep down, they knew it was. They returned home, but the memories of their experience at the Colosseum haunted them. They would often wake up in the middle of the night, sweating and trembling, reliving the horrors of the past. They couldn't shake off the feeling of being trapped in the Colosseum with the echoes of the dead. They had thought that they would be able to leave their experience behind, but they soon realized that the Colosseum's curse had followed them home. They were consumed by the echoes of the dead, and they knew that they would never be able to escape them. The friends never spoke to each other again, each consumed by their own fears and nightmares. They were forever changed by their experience at the Colosseum, and they knew that they would never be able to forget the echoes of the dead that they had encountered there. Echoes of the Dead, a horror story from the Colosseum, had a profound effect on them, and it was a story that would be passed down from generation to generation, a warning of the horrors that lay within the ancient walls of the Colosseum. The end.